The DJ accepts no responsibility for the next record.
Say what? Oh no, he didn't. Where's the money, man? Where's my money?
It's time to man up, America.
Let's do this.
All right. Welcome back. It's Thursday, Man Up America. Today's call-in day. We'll see which one of you folks actually has something to say, because we've had a lot to talk about this week. I know there's a lot on your mind, but we're here on Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB TV. Let's do this. All right, guys, listen. Man Up America, we are in studio at WTNB. That is Charter Channel 5, digital TV station 27.1, Comcast 210. I'm getting the hang of this. It's episode 6, and we're getting the hang of this, okay? So episode 6, we're getting in the groove here. What I'll say is, so far the ride's been amazing. We're getting some great comments and feedback from you guys, both on Facebook and through our email address, which is commentsmanuptalk@gmail.com. That's commentsmanuptalk@gmail.com. We've got the shrink Rob Alderman's coming back in the studio today, and I'm going to follow up a little bit on what we talked about yesterday, which was we had a wonderful guest, Brian Graves of the Cleveland Daily Banner, right here in the studio with us. And Brian Graves talked a little bit about, is there media bias? Is there media bias? Everybody says there's media bias. Is there media bias? And I think he gave us a good breakdown of what it's like to be a journalist and how in this election cycle in particular, how it's so difficult to report on things that are emerging, but trying to be fair in the process, which, I'm just going to be honest with you. For those of you listening on Talk 101.3 The Buzz and watching on WTNB, I come here every day saying today's the day we don't talk about politics. I do that every day. Today's the day. But it is absolutely saturating our lives right now. Absolutely. And you feel it too. I know when that you're on social media, you're looking at Facebook and Twitter, you can't avoid the presidential election. You can't. You can't avoid it. You can't turn on the news. You can't turn on the TV. You absolutely cannot avoid it. And I know a lot of you are as sick of the presidential cycle as I am. But you know what? We are we're going to give it its due. Listen, it's wrapping up. We got a few more weeks. November will get here quick enough, and we'll be on to the things we all can talk about that make us feel good. We've got some great lineup. We got a great lineup of shows coming on. Former host of Monster House from TLC Network, Steve Watson's going to be in the studio with us next Thursday. We're going to talk to him a little bit about what it's like to be on TV, the role he played, what he's doing now with construction. And a lot of folks don't realize Steve Watson was a big part of helping us through recovery in 2011 when he actually came back to Tennessee and helped get some folks underway and do what he could do to help the recovery after the tornadoes. Dennis Tumlin from Fish Dayton is going to be here in the coming weeks. For those of you who aren't familiar, Dayton, Tennessee is an amazing place to fish. Lake Chickamauga is absolutely one of the most beautiful lakes that you can bass fish on. They pulled a state record out of that lake, and Dennis Tumlin, who is part of the Ray Convention Bureau over there that runs the Fish Dayton website and promotes folks to come fish in Dayton, Tennessee, is going to be with us, and he's going to talk a little bit about what it's like to fish as we go into colder weather, what you anglers should be looking to do. We'll also use our genius. A lot of folks don't know this. The Shrink Rob Alderman is an avid fly fisherman, which is completely different from bass fishing. But we're going to take up the charge with the fishing side of things. Great to have Dennis Tumlin coming in. We got a show coming up on stress, guys, ladies. I encourage you to tune into that show. We're going to dispel some myths about stress, and at the same time, we're going to confront exactly what's the role of stress in our life. I have trouble finding information on stress a lot of times. I'm sure at some point this week, you will look at your significant other or someone else that you know, and you will say, man, I've been stressed. But do you really know what the impact of stress does to your body, to your mind, to your social life? We're going to take that up. Listen, got a great show coming up in 2 weeks, one I'm very excited about. Those who know me the best know that I am a firearm enthusiast. I'm a firearm enthusiast, and we're not going to go down the political route too much with firearms, but we are going to talk about the role of firearms in our society. We're going to talk a little bit about the different kinds of firearms on the market. And if you are a firearm enthusiast, email us comments manuptalk@gmail.com or facebook.com manuptalk. Send us a message. This is what I want to know. What do you carry? If you're a concealed carrier or you're an open carrier, I don't care in the state of Tennessee. If you're a permitted carrier, what firearm do you carry? Male, female? We want to take it to that show, and I want to give some viewer feedback because I get a lot of questions from people that I know that aren't necessarily gun people, but who have begun acquiring firearms for various reasons, personal safety, security, things like that, even sport. And I get a lot of calls from people saying, what kind of gun should I buy? My wife, I'm looking to get a firearm for my wife for safety. What kind of firearm should I be looking for my wife? We're going to talk about those things, and we're going to have J-Rob back with us at that time because she actually has a wonderful YouTube channel where she and her father shoot different firearms and talk a little bit about the experience with them, both from a male and a female perspective. So very excited about that. I've been plugging this for a few episodes now. Pastor Leonce Crump out of Atlanta, who pastors Renovation Church in Atlanta, he's a former New Orleans Saint lineman, also played at the University of Oklahoma, and now pastors in Atlanta and is a big advocate and is very involved in the Black Lives Matters movement. And we're going to talk to him, get a chance to interview him, and get some information on Black Lives Matter. I'm very anxious. I haven't had that phone interview yet. That phone interview is coming up next week, so shortly thereafter, we're going to air that interview. Very, very excited about that. We've got a show coming up on Netflix. I know a lot of you purchase the Netflix subscription, Netflix, Hulu, whatever you watch, but I'm actually going to dig down into some friends of mine, and we're going to talk about some of the best shows that are on Netflix that you can be watching. And we're going to talk about we're actually going to go manly on that and talk about some of the most manly shows that you can tune into on Netflix because Modern Family is just not quite as manly as I want it to be. And then we've actually got a show coming up, too. We're going to talk about some great literature on the market for specifically that show's going to be for men, about men, and some books you can read, guys. If you're like me, I am not an avid reader per se. I do a lot of reading during the course of my daily life. So it's very, very hard for me to tune in to a book for pleasure. But I have sought over the years so much counsel in literature, and I have gotten a lot of information from literature. In fact, I posted today, and I'm going to read this to you, and our guest, the Shrink Rob Alderman, just made his way into the studio. We're glad he could join us. I'm going to look this up, but I posted something today from one of my favorite authors. This is just a little tease coming up for the book show because I'll talk a little bit about my favorite author, which is C.S. Lewis. I've always been a big C.S. Lewis fan. Mere Christianity, Screwtape Letters, but I forgot this passage from Screwtape Letters until I saw it today, and it was so fitting for our political season. For those of you who aren't familiar with Screwtape Letters, it's a satirical work from C.S. Lewis in which he essentially the devil is, or the head demon, Screwtape, is advising one of his minions, Wormwood, on how to manipulate people into sin and into destruction in their life. And he mentions to his minion that this is what he should do to people. Be sure, and he calls people patients, be sure that the patient remains completely fixated on politics. Arguments, political gossip, and the obsessing of the faults of people who they have never met serves as an excellent distraction from advancing in personal virtue, character and the things the patient can control. Make sure to keep the patient in a constant state of angst, frustration, and general disdain towards the rest of the human race in order to avoid any kind of charity or inner peace from further developing. Ensure the patient continues to believe that the problem is out there in a broken system rather than recognizing that the problem is within himself. That is from C.S. Lewis, circa, 1942? It's. Let me get your mic on.
Yeah.
In the studio with us, the shrink Rob
Sorry,
Alderman.
I thought I was on.
No, you're on now.
Yeah. I've been here a little bit at this point. I didn't just like.
I had to finish my thought.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good
I'm
thought.
excited about that program, and
I'm not sure when that was written.
1942.
Really, was it 42?
1942.
I'm always super careful with what's on the internet going around as a meme, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we obviously know like the words are correct, and you know, I don't know. I don't know how in 1942 C.S. Lewis was able to, you know, prophetically see Fox News.
Yeah, that's.
I don't have any idea.
Well, it was funny. This did pass around Facebook in a meme,
Or
but
CNN or MSNBC or come on.
As soon as I read it, I recalled Screw Tape Letters, which is just
The whole thing's brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. And for those of you who think this is a little nerdy, bear with me because it really is a fitting. C.S. Lewis was a master of human behavior, and human understanding, and so he writes in the Screw Tape Letters this passage, and not 2 minutes earlier, I'm reading the article about Danny Williams, the illegitimate son of Bill Clinton, or alleged illegitimate son of Bill Clinton, and how this is now the headline in today's campaign. And you know, this political campaign has just been the gift that keeps on giving, or
It's
more
the worst.
like the wound that keeps on bleeding.
It's the literal worst. I'm so over it, everybody. You know, like that guy on your face page the other day said, we too PC. How about this? I'm sick of you people. I love you with the Christian love that says, I want you to successfully make it to heaven one day where all things are reconciled. Outside of that, I am so sick of all you. And me. I probably hate me right now. How's that for not PC?
Yeah, I think he probably hates you too.
Right into the good doctor and let him know. I wish Rob hadn't said that. A vote for hating me is a vote for Hillary.
If you're sick of this political campaign, comments manuptalk@gmail.com.
But what a good passage. Seriously though, what a good passage. Because here's the deal: we live in a primarily evangelical Christian town, right?
Correct.
Primarily. We also live in a town that I think is super good about letting everybody have their bully pulpit and like say the things when it's good and when it's bad, right? As a community, people around here feel pretty free to like share their minds and such. Isn't it amazing that you can look at something and you can look at all these memes, you can look at the people who you're saying like, no, now this is 99% of the time a rational human being. Right?
Except
I
for
know
today.
this person. But today, they've lost their minds, right? And then you read the Screw Tape thing, right? And like if you're a Christian, like I wasn't particularly, like I grew up a Pentecostal Christian, so like we're like wacky, crazy Jedis anyway. Like we believe in all of it.
The Force is with us.
Yeah,
which was,
yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is, like, here's this demon saying to another demon, listen, if you can get these dudes talking about politics, they will lose their minds, right? Like, if they don't stop to realize it's just them being sexist, racist, angry, prideful, bigoted, what have you. Insert slam here, right? If you can get them to not look at themselves and instead be focused on how broken our system is, then you can do all right, because then they'll get to come here with us to hell.
Well,
That's literally what C.S. Lewis
I think
is saying.
the magic, though, is that last phrase. Keep them thinking that the problem is out there in a broken system when it's actually right here. And so,
I mean, it's obviously a problem with me. I just told everybody I hate them. I mean, I got serious problems, people. Anyway,
So,
we got good shows coming up.
We got great shows.
I'm glad you told everybody about all the
I
shows
want
coming
people
up.
to know that that
This too will end.
This
too
too
shall
this
pass.
too shall pass. This is like the kidney stone of society right
Yeah,
now.
we got to get past this too because I mean we can't because we're in it. But it's
and
like
every day there's something new.
yeah, I was listening.
Bill Clinton has 5 mixed race grandchildren
Good God.
as of today. What alleged? I
what
don't
I'm
quite
saying
see
is-
the resemblance with the guy that everybody keeps calling.
Yeah, I don't either. But the thing is, I was listening to the show the other day on recording, and I think I even texted you. I was like, "Hey, this is pretty good." Like, for a couple dudes, I think who come into this thinking, "Well, all right, we'll try our best or whatever."
We're just itching to talk about fly fishing.
Yeah, and we're just like, please, like today, nobody have a tape from 1985 where you're doing something horrible. Like let's just please talk about something else, but we can't. We're here. We are a part of our society.
Well, today we are going to talk about something else, but before we do
Yeah, we
that,
are. Yeah,
we're
we
gonna
are.
we're gonna give a little cred to our sponsors. By the way, if you want to call in today and be a part of today's show, 478-8892.
478-8892.
8892.
I'm going to post it on the face page.
478-8892. Today we're actually going to talk a little bit about something that was in the headlines. I did not get to the headline on Tuesday,
Okay.
but it's related to youth sports. And we've had a little bit of drama with youth sports locally in our community, but an amazing headline that emerged this week, and that we'll get to. But first, want to give a shout out to a few of our sponsors. Once again, Home Mortgage Solutions. Call Daryl Whitaker, 339-8086.
What's our number again?
478-8892.
478-8892.
But call Daryl Whitaker at 339-8086 if you need help with lending, a home loan, refinance. Give Daryl a call. They're wonderful people over there. We're glad to have them as a sponsor of the show. Also, Bliss Day Spa, 472-8887. The first few shows, I've plugged it heavily. I cannot tell you enough. And they're actually going to be our chief sponsor for this show on stress.
Excellent.
Because if you've ever been in one of their facilities, you'll know exactly what it's like to leave stress at the door. And I recommend you don't take your cell phone in when you go to Bliss Day Spa.
That's right.
Whether it's a mani and pedi, whatever the case may be.
Whatever. Leave that cell phone down and be pampered for a little bit, America.
That's right.
This is how we man up about the spa.
And speaking of stress, there is a way to get stress off of your back. Some of you listening and some of you watching have an old 401k.
Yeah.
You've got an old retirement. It's
Right.
sitting there, and you're not getting the benefits of something called dollar cost averaging. I want you to Google that, dollar cost averaging, which means if you have a 401k, an old 401k from a previous job, and you're not putting money in that 401k, you're probably doing yourself an injustice. But call Woodman Life, 790-2847. They're going to help you get that into a tool that's going to help it grow and preserve it for future generations and for your retirement. So
Let me say a thing.
Go
right
ahead.
Here. I love Woodman Life, and I just want to say that out loud because some people might say, "Good doctor, you're involved with the Woodman." So I want to say,
We're a
I'm
legacy
not.
Woodman, generations here.
I am now. My family, we are protected by Woodman, and we absolutely love it, and that's no joke. People out there know I wouldn't just throw that up.
yeah,
I would not. I would be quiet and chill out. But I want to tell you guys, listen, especially those of you who are like me, who waited till later in life when you have kids and you have a wife and you suddenly go, oh man, I need to protect my family. What if I die? What's going to happen to my kids, right? I had that moment, last year at some point. And I looked into all sorts of insurance. I looked into Dave Ramsey's insurance companies. I looked all over the nation. And I chose Woodman Life, and I'm so glad that I did. So I'm giving a shout out to Woodman.
well, I appreciate that shout out. Woodman's great company, great outfit. That recently Woodman has fed over, wait for it, 380 teachers at local elementary schools as part of teacher appreciation,
That's
in
wonderful.
addition to 96 first responders
They're
on
doing
9/11.
so many good things. So many good
So
things.
many good
all the
things,
time.
and they can do good for you by helping you with that old 401k.
It's
So,
really true.
moving on, what I read in the headlines
I'm listening.
that I want to get to, that I was really excited to see. I'm a coach.
Yeah.
I've coached my oldest son. Prior to coaching my oldest son, I coached with the Boys and Girls Clubs. In fact, I've coached teams of kids that nobody else wanted before. And I primarily am a basketball coach, but I've coached football. I've coached baseball. I've coached a lot of different things. Basketball is my forte. But I was a better baseball player when I was a child and when I was in my teens.
Yeah.
Baseball was my best sport.
Right.
I loved basketball more, but baseball was my best sport. So I have a lot of opinions about baseball.
Sure.
I've put my son into the setting to play baseball on several occasions, and though my son's extremely athletic and a great basketball player, baseball's not his best sport. So we're kind of shying away from it.
Okay.
But baseball's a big deal
Yeah.
to a lot of parents.
Yeah.
It's a big deal in this community.
Rusty was a killer baseball player as a little boy.
And you've seen the parents who spend hundreds of dollars and countless hours traveling all over the face of the world
Yeah.
to play baseball for their
Absolutely.
kids. Okay, sorry, I was checking in on a text message there. But recently, a lot of the governing entities, and here in Tennessee, TSSAA is the entity that governs youth sports for us,
Yeah.
high school, middle school.
That's right.
And even in youth leagues, we borrow from their
Right.
guidelines. They're finally saying, coaches, you're pitching pitchers too much.
Right.
Tommy John surgery, which is a surgery, for those of you who don't know, on the throwing arm of pitchers to actually make their arm functional, is of growing concern. Those surgeries have increased. And even in my recent interview with Darren Holmes, who's the bullpen coach of the Colorado Rockies, he made some very clear statements about, listen, at 9, 10, even 13 years old, you don't know if your child's going to play at the next level. I don't
Right.
care how much you think you can recognize early talent, whether you're a coach or a parent. You don't know.
Right.
And we, as professional coaches in the major leagues, laugh at people who think they do
Who
know.
think they know? Yeah.
We laugh at you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Darren said. He said, really, there are kids who are completely disorganized and unathletic who, by 15, 16, 17 years old, post-puberty, have found their way and to play at the next level, which he said is college, not
And
the
you
major
see
league.
this all the time, actually. Like, the numbers bear this out, that a lot of kids don't even pick this thing up until they're a junior in high school, and all of a sudden they're playing at the college level, and then from there into the majors.
Absolutely. Same thing with basketball. If you're tall and can leap, you're going to find your way onto the high school team, even if you've never played in elementary
right.
school.
Yeah.
So with baseball, what has happened is a lot of coaches, either through ignorance or through malicious intent, really, have over-pitched children
Yeah.
to it's causing them physical damage. The regulatory entities now are cracking down on that and saying, train more pitchers. You're not going to pitch these kids as much.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you personal experience, and this is in youth league, and I've had some great coaches for my son. But this past ball season, we had 2 really good pitchers on our youth team. But my son, who is not a pitcher, I went to the coach and said, Blaine can pitch if you need him to pitch. And I think they pitched him one game, and he did all right. And Blaine kind of came to me and said, Dad, I don't want to pitch. Why did you tell the coach to pitch me? And I told my son, I said, I needed you to be another option for him. Because those other 2 guys are
Just getting worn out.
they're far better pitchers than you, and he doesn't know who to go to. And you needed to step up to rest those guys. And, I constantly talked to the parents of those kids and said, make sure you're keeping a pitch count on your kid because the coach is coaching the game. He may not be counting them. And when you're a child, there's a lot of – anybody who's been through youth baseball knows there's a lot of balls thrown in that game.
Yeah.
So the amount of pitches in a youth game is very, very high for kids like that. So it's good to see that these regulatory entities are starting to say, no, we're not going to pitch kids as much. We're going to protect the health of the players. If you've got some thoughts on this, 478-8892. Feel free to call us, 478-8892, or send your comments to commentsmanuptalk@gmail.com.
Here's the thing I was going to say on this. You were talking for a minute about Tommy John surgery. One of the things that was really kind of alarming to me that had emerged over, I'd say, the last 5 years is this idea that at some point you're going to have the surgery, like if you're a pitcher. And so there was for a while this kind of really scary well, we're just going to go ahead and pitch them out, so they have to have the surgery earlier in life and go ahead and get it over with, and then get rehabbed before they're in college. You want to pitch the pitcher's arm out in his junior high and his high school years, get the pitch count really high, so you can go ahead, have the blowout, and have the surgery. And that was super common for a while. Like, it was nothing to hear about a kid having a Tommy John surgery. And I thought
It was
that
almost
was
like
kind of
performance enhancing.
That's right. Like we're just going to go ahead and have this, and then now he's going to be a 4-tool pitcher instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the slider's really working now that
Now,
everything's tightened up.
I have a cousin who's a pitcher for Piedmont College, which is a pretty big feat to become a pitcher at any college level.
At the college level,
At the
yeah.
college level. And he's gone through coaches who've changed his pitching style here and there. But luckily, I think my uncle has done a good job of regulating how they use him. But I know that they've been, especially in the high school era, went through some very, very bad coaches, and how that was a big threat to him and his longevity. And he really feels if he had not regulated it from a parent perspective, his son probably wouldn't be coaching at the college level right now. So that's just something to keep in mind, parents. We are actually going to go to a break here, and when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about youth sports, because I think this ruling that says we're not going to pitch kids as much is a growing trend. I think people and parents are becoming more and more aware of the opportunity that athletics presents for their children, presents for a community, the developmental opportunities in athletics we're learning tremendously about, from 3D coaching to other things. And when I come back, I want to talk a little bit about some changes that have taken place here in actually Bradley County that a lot of people are unhappy with. And, Rob, I'm actually having trouble getting people on the phone to talk about this.
About something they're mad about?
Well, not something that they're just mad about, but something that some of them are doing, the other ones are mad about, has to do with county sports in general, related to what the city's doing. And
we're going to talk about this controversy?
We're going to talk about this controversy because I am going to prod on the air until somebody
calls in with an opinion?
Either calls in or emails me or is willing to go on the phone to talk about some of the concerns related to youth sports, because once again, it's all about the kids. It's all about youth development and athletic development at a young age. So let's go to a break here. Once again, you're listening to Man Up America on Talk 101.3 The Buzz. We're on WTNB. That's digital TV station 27.1, Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210. I've got the shrink Rob Alderman with me in the studio. You're listening to the good Dr. Jay Adam. We're talking youth sports in our community. We'll be back in a moment.
Woodman Life has been keeping its promises to members for more than 100 years. That means we've survived the Great Depression, Black Friday, and all the other ups and downs our economy has faced. In good times and bad, we're strong and stable. We're an organization your family can count on. At Woodman Life, we've always believed that slow and steady really does win the race. Our conservative investment philosophies are just one part of the strength of our organization. What really makes Woodman Life strong is the trust and loyalty of our members.
Contact your local Woodman representative today by calling 423-790-2847. With 3 offices serving Southeast Tennessee, your Woodman representative standing by to help you.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
The good Dr. Jay Adam here, talking to all the gentlemen out there. For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the good doctor sent you from Man Up America.
So, how's the new job?
Love it.
But it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
Begin your financial career today with Woodman Life by calling 423-790-2847.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
Are you looking to refinance your home, or perhaps you're in the market to actually purchase? Take it from the good Dr. J. Adam. There's no need to go far and wide to look for mortgage help. Call 339-8086, Home Mortgage Solutions, LLC, right here in Cleveland. Their team's prepared to help you with lending, with refi options. Just give them a call, 339-8086, and tell them the good Dr. J. Adam sent you. All right, we're back here on Man Up America, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB, 27.1, Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210. All right, I have got the shrink Rob Alderman in the studio with me. Rob, I'm going to read you an article, and before I read this article, which is from the Cleveland Daily Banner, I want to be honest with our listeners, and I want to be honest with our viewers.
Uh-oh.
When we talk about youth athletics, as a former athlete, my wife was also a former athlete, a college athlete. She's still a coach. My wife is a coach at a local middle school. I've coached my son. I'll plan to coach my youngest son. I'd coach my daughter if she was even remotely interested in athletics, but she's not.
Sure.
She's a cheerleader. I know the value of the captive opportunity that a coach has with an athlete. And I learned that long before I had children when I was coaching at the Boys and Girls Clubs. I had kids that didn't have the grades or the behavior to be on the school team. And during that 12 weeks that I had those kids, they had fewer problems than any other time of the year. And it's because something mattered to them. And I, as a coach, recognized that. And I made sure I surrounded myself with other coaches. So as I've taken that experience into youth sports with my kids, and I think, and I would encourage any parent that has had me as a coach to call in, I think they all would say the same thing, that for me, we played to win. And I always had competitive teams, especially in school basketball. But it was about more than just the game. That I would tell parents, my goal is for your child to be a better athlete and a better teammate by the end of the season. And it's hard sometimes as a coach because the more gruff coaches think, well, you're talking a lot of cliches. And character development is something that a bad coach uses to justify being a bad coach. Listen, I don't think I was a bad coach. You know, I always had a basketball team at our elementary school that has been competitive over the past few years in the county league. We emerged as one of the top 5 or 6 every season out of 19 teams. We had a competitive team, but I took to every practice and every game the idea that children needed to be developed. I'm a big fan of 3D coaching. I don't expect all volunteer coaches to have degrees in child development like my wife and I do.
Right.
So I'm kind to
You're
people
kind of
who
like
volunteer.
the perfect storm of coaching, though. You know, like not everybody was an athlete, also has child development degrees, and then children who like athletics. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a little different.
But that leads me to have some pretty strong opinions about youth development. And I think sometimes we tinker with youth athletics, and secondary is the idea of developing youth. That maybe competition is primary and secondary. Now, that being said, and I think there's a place for it in communities, my children have never been engaged in upward sports.
Sure.
Because I wasn't a big fan of the everybody wins I think that part of athletics and part of what it does is it teaches us how
Yeah.
to lose.
Yeah.
And how to be good losers. And unless you're able to lose and able to recognize you didn't perform,
Yeah.
it's hard to teach that as a coach. So I never really did the upward thing. For some people, that's great. And I think especially for children who perhaps aren't very athletic but want the
Right.
social environment of athletics, that's
I'll
a great
say
tool.
this: we never did upwards. I don't like everybody gets a trophy in America. It's just not a thing I like. You may love it, and some parents may see that as crucial, and I'm sure it is on some level that I don't see. And I'm sure that what they're not seeing is I think it's important to learn how to lose with grace and dignity, and to use a loss to make yourself become a better person and to educate yourself. And I think that's what you lose when you do upwards, right? I will say this: 2 years ago, right? We did put our little ones in Soccer Shots. Now, Soccer Shots was not an upwards organization that I'm aware of. Maybe they are. I could be wrong. But it was just about skill and enthusiasm. So they never played games against other teams. It was like a completely different. It'd
like
almost
a
be like going to
clinic.
soccer camp every
Yeah,
week,
a
right?
clinic league,
Right.
yeah.
You know, they played against each other, but they were also all together.
A
right?
developmental league.
And I will say that was actually fantastic for our little ones, because I think they needed to see that just expending physical energy and loving a sport is good. Like, we never had that with Rusty, because Rusty always really has been pretty athletic and likes to play sports. And it's been pretty vocal. He's just come into his competitive edge. When he was younger, he used to say, I don't really like to compete. I like to play. And that's, not me. His dad, I'm very competitive. But now he loves competition, and I feel like it's super healthy. So we did the Soccer Shots thing, but never did the upwards thing.
So here's what's happened recently, and this matters to some people, not so much to others. But here on Man Up America, we're going to man up on youth sports here.
Okay.
I've been very clear about where I come from as a coach and as a parent, but I also want to be very clear with what's taking place. So over the past few years with youth basketball, which is the season we're coming up on,
Yeah.
with youth basketball, we have had all of the elementary schools. You try out for a team. You make the team, and then those elementary schools compete against each other. And it has kind of been a county-facilitated league, because all elementary schools are in the county. Excuse me. And so it's been a county-facilitated league. And so Michigan Avenue and Black Fox would compete against Ross and Blythe Bower and Stewart. And there was kind of this a general sense of all the kids in the county are a member of the county. I enjoyed that because it gave us an opportunity for my children who are in county schools to rub elbows with kids in the city schools, not only in the city league or in the competition between the city schools, but in All-Stars and in other things like that. One thing I didn't like about the county schools, and one thing that we had started a dialogue on, is I really didn't like the idea of cutting kids. The school that I coached at Michigan Avenue, we would have 12 on the team, but we'd have 28 to 30 show up to try out. And so I was always an advocate of a B team or a B league, or I don't think it does you any good to take kids who are not able to compete with the more competitive kids and just have them be destroyed every game.
Yeah.
But I believe in kind of tiering competition. And ultimately, that didn't happen because of the lack of volunteers to coach more than anything else. So this year, the city has decided to do their own league and pull out of the county league. And this is the article from the Cleveland Daily Banner dated September 20th. Things will be shaken up in terms of youth basketball in Cleveland this year, but the change will be all for the better. And this is obviously the opinion of the sports writer. I wish there had been a little more balance because I do not agree with her. Ms. Norkus, feel free to call in from the Cleveland Daily Banner. I disagree with your assessment that this is all for the better. There may be better elements to it, but the negatives have not been highlighted. Say goodbye to the Cleveland City elementary teams of old and get ready to say to the Cleveland Youth Basketball League. Now, this is something that Cleveland had done with the football teams earlier, because used to in the county, everybody played each other in the football league, but they developed their own football team. City kids or county kids that wanted to play with the city team no longer competed with the county kids and started competing against Chattanooga and other teams. But it says, having seen areas that could be improved when it comes to youth basketball, organizers say that it is finally right for the launch of the Cleveland Youth Basketball League. This is being hit up by coaches at the middle and high school level in the Cleveland City Schools. I have put out an email to Coach McCowan. I want him to come on the show and explain a little bit about the purpose of his league. Without reading all of this article, I'll give you the synopsis of what's taken place and the criticism of what's taken place. What's being said is, by separating the city kids, that they'll be able to develop them better for the sport and be able to have more attention to where they're coaching. It also allows them, because the city league's not going to be school-specific anymore. They're going to put all the kids in one big pot, and then they're going to divide them up equally into equal teams to play each other at the various schools, which is not a bad idea. I actually like that idea. It gets more kids in the pool. It makes more balanced teams.
I like it too.
Makes more balanced teams.
I'm having to go slow as I'm thinking through the implications of each thing that you're saying.
It's a lot.
But I actually like that.
But so a lot of how they're doing basketball with the city schools is changing for the better. But here's the change that no one can explain to me.
Okay. I'm ready.
Why eliminate competing against county kids? No one has provided a justification yet that says we're not going to compete against the county schools. You can do everything you said you want to do developmentally with team structure and everything and still compete against Black Fox and North Lee and Prospect and Oak Grove. You can do all of those things and still compete. Why not compete? No one's answered that question, and that's really the only question I have. Why not compete? Why not compete with kids in your county? Why are we continuing to build a wall in athletics that I think has become more and more political than anything else? Now, I'm going to anger some people with this, but it's an honest question. As a county coach and as a city sympathetic individual, where I love the city of Cleveland. I love the coaches we have. I love the schools that we have. I love the people who teach and coach in those schools. Why are we eliminating that competition? And no one's provided an answer. So, when
did this article come out?
This was the end of last month.
Okay. End of last month. So it's been out 2 weeks?
The 20th, we're going on 3.5 weeks.
Okay. So is there, to be fair, is there an outcry to which there should be a response, or is it only you asking?
And let me tell
Are
you
you
how
the outcry?
I am not.
Okay, that's what I'm
not.
asking. Is the reason you don't have an answer because the article's only a couple weeks old?
I am intrigued by the outcry.
Okay.
The outcry has been this from the parents
of county kids.
Of city kids.
Okay, the parents of city kids
who say, no, we want to continue to compete with the county schools. So they have approached the county league and said, if we get together a team from Blythe Bower, from Stewart, from Ross, to play in the county league, will you let them play? And, of course, the county's response is, of course, you're county taxpayers. You can play just as much as anybody. But the city's response to that has been, but you can't use our city gyms. So you're looking at city taxpayers who help pay for that school facility, and you're saying you can't use the city gyms. And then I have one more question, and this is where we really man up. It is alleged, at this point just alleged, that coaches in the city league are telling parents, if your child does not play in the city league, they will never have an opportunity to play sports at the middle and high school level in the city of Cleveland. I want to dispel that rumor as fast as possible.
Surely that's not true.
I want Coach McCowan, I want somebody with the city to dispel that rumor quickly, because if that's incorrect, we need for parents to know that they have the choice to compete with the county kids without recourse or repercussion. If that is true, wow, we got a big man-up topic that we need to be talking about, because we are losing sight of youth development and community unity. So this is kind of my man-up rant of the week.
I always wonder if this is normal. When these weird county city tiffs come up. I wonder if this is like in every county city in America.
Well, it's normal for our community, but it typically
I know that it's normal for our community.
it typically stays between the governing bodies. When I was on the county commission, even though we were friends with the city commissioners, there was constant ebb and flow between those two governments, and a lot of it was just related to the ideological perception of community. And there was conflict there, but I wouldn't say it was necessarily healthy conflict, but it came from a sincere place. I just don't see the advantage. I think what the city wants to do developmentally, even saying, well, we really want control of the teams, of our students,
right?
I think it's great. But no one has provided an answer of why not compete against the county. Why not compete? And so I want the answer to that question, and I want to directly, from our listeners,
it could be
dispel
so
the
many
rumor.
little things, right? Like, number one, it could just be number of games per season. It could just be like, we looked at this, and if we put all the kids together and we put them in these different pools, we have X number of games. That's how long we got, so we're not going to play against the county anymore. Could be that.
Could be.
Could be, this is an untried thing, and so for right now, we're just going to make it X big. I mean, people do that all the time. They say, let's not, expand this all over the place. Let's see if this works, right? That could be an answer. I think it sounds ridiculous to me that, if your kid doesn't play in this particular league, they'll never play at their school leagues. I only say that because, no coach in his or her right mind excludes a child who's talented and wants to play just because they didn't years ago when they were a little kid play in the youth pool league, right?
Well,
So that just seems false to me.
What we know
And
is
if one of the coaches calls in and says, no, that is true, I'll laugh and be like, why?
Why? Yeah.
What
we do know is that coaches who are assembling teams of city kids to play in the county are not being given access to the school gyms for which they pay taxes to build and sustain, which fundamentally there's a problem there. But what we don't know is if this statement of you won't play sports, and that was alleged during the football season too. I know the coaches of a lot of the football coaches in the city of Cleveland. I have a hard time thinking that about. Yeah. I don't know the basketball coaches as well, although I do play basketball with some of them, and I have a hard time thinking that that's true. But if this show can dispel that rumor, I want it to.
Right.
I want it to dispel it tomorrow. I want parents to know they have a choice.
Text one of these guys if you know them.
I have. I've sent them all texts.
Text them.
We want the response. I would love to have some of those city coaches who want to play in the county league give us their 2 cents. They've been directly involved in these discussions. Hey guys, listen, man up. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
You've stopped me at the ball game and you've taught me about it.
So I want to make sure I'm going to play the part of the everyman, since you're a previous coach and you've talked to these people already and your kids are involved, right? I'm not, right? My youngest ones are still just playing rec league soccer and stuff, and Rusty's homeschooled, so we don't have, we already deal with that kind of grumpy, it's sort of weird for him to play ball because, trust me, Cleveland Middle, if you're listening, you wish he was your goalie. He's had incredible past 3 seasons. This is on you, but so the point is that, so I want to understand, so the kids in the city, basketball players, are all going to be put into one pool regardless of what school they come from. They're all going to be divvied out into equal teams, and then they'll play one another at the different city gyms, but they won't be representing a school because they're all from different schools. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, number 2 is those teams made out of the city people. And then the county is not doing that. They're going to have school teams. And the question really is, why can't the pool teams play against the school teams?
Correct.
And the pool team coaches from the city are saying, we wish we could play against the county teams.
Well, no, the coaches who have decided because they want to play against the county teams that are not going to participate in the city league.
Gotcha.
So this is obviously a point that we want to get to the bottom of. I want to give everybody an
They
opportunity
need to call in.
explain
Come
it.
on, coaches.
They want to call and explain. At least tell us when we can call you. We will.
I always thought coaches are supposed to be outspoken and.
I did
yelling
too,
at us about stuff.
and inevitably someone's going to be angry. But listen, guys, it's important when it comes to the kids. Again, a lot of the coaches I know in the city, especially with football, Scott Carroll is an amazing coach at Cleveland Middle, and I know Scott would take any kid that walked in Cleveland Middle School with an intent to play football athletically and put them to work.
Right.
I know that for a fact. I know him. And there are a lot of other good coaches. Derek Morris, who's at Cleveland Middle right now on the basketball side of the equation. So I just have a hard time believing some of these rumors are true, but I do want to break down. And I do think it's probably a good transitional, at least, gesture to say we'll figure out how to work gyms and how to play in gyms. But I'm a big fan and always will be a big fan of Bradley County as a whole, inclusive of the city, kids intercompeting, because when they get to middle and high school, who are they competing against? Each other. Cleveland Middle competes against Ocoee, competes against Walker Valley. All of that happens. So why not go ahead and start getting those guys used to competing against each other, familiar with each other's faces, shaking hands, knowing each other after every game.
That's right.
Because if you'll recall, in this community, there was a time where Bradley and Cleveland did not play a football game because things got so hostile that they canceled the games. We don't ever want to see that happen again. Good sportsmanship begins when kids are young, and I just think having a community-wide league is a good opportunity to do that.
Coaches, come on, contact us, and parents of players.
We want to hear about it. 478-8892. Now, we do need to move on just a tad.
Let's do it. Let's move on.
We've got to get to the other side of sports, which is going to. I want this to be a Thursday regular. Oh, we've got a call. We have a call.
Hey!
So we're going to pause our over and under here.
Yeah.
And see who this calls from. They're going to let us know here in a second. But we're going to do pick'ems for the games this weekend. I've picked 5 games, and we were going to call Derek Kinsey, but we'll see who's on the line. We asked you to call. We're going to see.
That's right.
Okay, I'm not seeing our call, people. Okay, I guess we lost that call. We're going to get Derek Kinsey on the line. Derek Kinsey's the director of the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Which automatically makes him good at picking college football.
Well, he's a coach, too. He's quite a good football coach, too, but we're going to get from him just...
Hello.
Is this Derek Kinsey?
The one and only.
All right, Derek Kinsey, you're talking to the good doctor on Man Up America. And for those of us who know us, we're friends. Derek and I have been friends for ages.
That's right.
And we raised our kids together. We were camping this past weekend.
It's almost here. Your friendship is almost tragic.
So he's the guinea pig for over-under this week. I pretty much said you're the guiney pig. What's going on, Derek? Now, you're still camping, aren't you? Fall break camping.
Yeah, I'm actually standing beside the Little Pigeon River right now.
Standing beside the Little Pigeon River.
Looking at trout.
Looking at trout.
Catching none.
Catching none. My son caught one. He caught one.
All right, Derek, this is how it works. I'm giving you 5 games, and you got to take the over and under. I know you're not a big baseball person, but you're going to have to call some baseball games, too.
Sure.
Because it is the Major League playoffs right now.
That's right.
Which I have not paid attention to.
You haven't paid attention to. So, Derek, our first game is between the Dodgers and Washington. The over-under is they've got Washington by 3. Over or under?
Under.
Under. All right. Toronto versus Cleveland. They've got Cleveland by 2 runs. Over or under?
Over.
Okay. Here's something I know. UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, versus Miami. Your old coach, Mark Richt, because you're a Georgia fan.
Oh, Miami's got it.
Well, they got UNC by 7, so, you're going under, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Alabama, Tennessee, they got Bama by 12.
Bama by 14 at least.
Oh, over. And then last but not least, in professional football, Titans, Cleveland. They got Cleveland by a touchdown, 7.5 points, so a touchdown and some.
Under.
The Titans,
under.
So you think the Titans are going to beat that spread?
I do.
Rob, let me read those back to you. Dodgers, Washington by 3, over, under.
Under.
All right, so you're in agreement with Derek. Over under between Toronto and Cleveland. Cleveland by 2.
Over Cleveland by 5.
Oh, okay. So he's with you on that, Derek. Over under UNC Miami. UNC by 7.
Can I just play the spread?
You just want to play the spread?
UNC by 7.
UNC by 7.
Miami's going to get them by 2.
Nope.
2 touchdowns.
Two touchdown. All right.
Yeah.
Alabama, Tennessee. Bama by 12.
Nah, Bama by 14.
Oh, over.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. And Titans, Cleveland. Cleveland by 7.5.
Cleveland wins by a field goal.
Okay, so he's going under on that one. So y'all are in agreement on everything but UNC Miami. I'm going with Derek. I'm going under on UNC Miami. I am over on the Dodgers in Washington and over on the Cleveland by 2 for Toronto. Alabama, Tennessee. I'm going under. I'm gonna be the oddball.
Really?
I think it's Bama by 10. And
I think it gets ugly. I think it gets
dumb. Yeah.
Tennessee's losing some folks. All right, we're down to our last little line here. And then last but not least, I am going with Titans Cleveland. They're saying Cleveland by 7.5. I think the Titans are going to beat that spread, so I am going under. Thank you, Derek Kinsey, for joining us on Man Up America, director of the Boys and Girls Clubs here in Cleveland, Tennessee. Special thank you to Rob Alderman, the Shrink, for being on the show. Hey, coaches, athletic directors, hey, call into the show. I promise I'll give you time.
We're going to raise a ruckus till you do.
We're going to raise it. Thank you. It's the good Dr. J. Adam. Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television, Man Up America. Peace out.